Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So today I want to do what they call a post-mortem analysis of Kamala's campaign. Okay, so a lot of people out there are saying that Kamala ran a terrible campaign. She did this bad. She did that bad. And I'm not talking about her policies. I'm talking about her campaign. And I actually think that she ran the best campaign that she could run to win. Okay, and it just wasn't enough. And I'm gonna explain what I mean. Okay, so in the Democrat Party, you on one side you've got like the hardcore crazy leftist socialists. Okay, and on the other side you've got the corporate government Democrats, right? A lot of Democrats that work for the government, for the different bureaucracies, and also lots of Democrats that work for corporations, large corporations that benefit from them. Um, so these two sides of the Democrat Party are diametrically opposed. Okay, um, and that's part of the reason why Kamala really couldn't take a firm stance on policies, and that's also, I think, the reason why Biden he primarily took like a hands-off approach, so let it run itself, and he never like really went one way or the other. He just kind of let everybody do their own thing. Okay, if the leftists wanted to have open borders, let them have open borders. Okay, um, so if the bureaucracies wanted to have more regulation, he just let them have more regulation. So Biden's approach was hands off because he's trying to satisfy, right, as best as he could, two parts of the party that are diametrically opposed. And Kamala had the same issue, right? These two parts of the party that there was just no way that she could please either side 100%. So that's why she really couldn't take a position on any policies. A lot of people are out there like, well, why didn't she tell us her policies? She couldn't tell us her policies because if she started taking positions on one side, she started taking any position, she would have pissed off almost half of her party. Okay, and the third component of this, of course, was like the moderates, right? Because you got your hardcore leftist socialists, you have your corporate, bureaucratic government Democrats, and then you also got a lot of these moderates that sometimes go, that sometimes I think more often than not go with Democrats. And these three sides, there's just no way that they could get along with each other. On the conservative side or on the Republican side, there's not so much of a drastic difference between, like if you go like to the what they call the far right. Okay, so who's the far right? Is it gun guys like me, right? People like me that basically just want to have fun shooting guns all day. Are we the far right? Well, far right, we got, I got a family, I got to feed them, I got work to do. I'm not that far from where the moderates are, okay? Because I pretty much do what they do, right? With the exception that maybe they don't shoot guns as much as I do. So is that the far right, or is the far right? Is it people that are religious? Okay, so now I'm not ultra religious. Okay, like I'll go to church maybe on the holidays. So it's not, So I'm just not It's not that I'm not religious, but or it's just that It's not the thing that basically drives my life. Okay, um, I mean, there's a important place for religion, especially when it comes to raising children, because it does a lot of the hard work for me. It's easy for me to use religion to teach my kids a conscience, like why shouldn't you harm animals, for example, or why shouldn't you like cause pain or suffering? Okay, so it's a lot easier to use religion to teach a 5, 6, 7-year old, 8-year old, than it is to try and sit there and try to argue logic with them, right? Because they're not really at the point yet where they can really understand logic. So religion really makes my job easier. Okay, so that's why it's like I'm not ultra religious, but I still find it extremely useful. I subscribe to a religion. But some people are like ultra religious, right? Like really religious. They go to church every Sunday. So here's the thing. Fine, they go to church on Sundays, right? But what do they do on the other days, right? They tend to do the same stuff that I do, right? They look after their families. They look after their work. They don't do like crazy shit like you see these hardcore leftists doing, okay? So when you look at the conservative side or Republican side, right? And I guess you also might have the institutionalist Republicans somewhere in there that, like, I mean, the sole purpose of their existence is to support the institutions, right? The government institutions, because you got a few of them, right, in there. Well, when they're not doing that, what are they mostly doing? They're mostly looking after their families too. So on the Republican side, it's not really like our lives really don't revolve around the extremes. Like my life doesn't revolve around the guns that I like to shoot here every day. Okay, even though I do it, that's not what my life revolves around. If you're a religious person, if you're on the far right because they say that you're religious, well, that's something that you do maybe on Sundays, right? Or if you're institutionalist. The point is, on the conservative side, our lives really revolve around our families, okay? So we're not all that, when you look at moderate Republicans to the so-called far right, there's not that much of a difference between us, okay? But when you go to the Democrat side, there are really vast differences, okay? Social differences between the leftists versus the corporate Democrats and the moderates, that some of which are also in their party. There's like really vast differences there. So for that reason, it's extremely hard for somebody like Kamala to take a position and not piss people off. So Kamala's strategy was, how was she going to keep as much of her party together to vote for her? Okay, so the way it turned out, okay, is that the moderates basically left her, okay, and the moderates are maybe I don't know, I can't really say, maybe 20, maybe 10% of her party. It was she basically, when she lost the moderates because of the crazy inflation, open borders, she couldn't make up those votes anywhere else. She could not make up those votes with the leftists, because the leftists were already there. She couldn't make up those votes with the corporate Democrats because they're already there. And she had really no way of pulling moderates over from the Republican Party. She had no way of pulling anybody else out of the Republican Party over to her side. So that's the reason why she lost. Because she lost the moderates, and the reality is that it is going to be impossible, right, for Democrats to win elections without moderates, and it's probably going to be really difficult for them to win elections without the hardcore leftists. Okay, so because the Democrat Party is like just composed of these like people that are like just like at these far wide extremes. Whereas the Republican side doesn't have that. And I don't even consider myself a Republican. In fact, I actually went independent after the 2020 election because I didn't like the way that a lot of the Republicans basically turned on Trump. Okay, I didn't like that, and I did end up switching back to Republican just so I could, so I could vote in the primaries. But my point is, it's like I was never like I'm not tied to the party. I'm tied to like results, like to what their positions are. Okay, that's what I'm interested in, not so much the party itself. So now I'm going to say this: going into this election, okay, there was because a lot of people now are saying that, oh, it was obvious that Trump was going to win. I never felt that. In fact, I felt that there was a good chance that Kamala and her Democrats were going to win. And part of the reason for that is, I pay attention to my kids, right, who are young, not so much the 5-year-old, but the 8 and the 9-year-old. I don't try to shove my politics down their throat at this stage, but I do listen to them because that kind of allows me to, it gives me a different perspective as to what information they're getting out there, right? What are they being exposed to? And the same thing with my wife. My wife is very uninterested in politics, okay? If I start talking politics with her, she really doesn't want to hear it. It's just, she's could not be more disinterested in politics. You know, I mean, her main thing is that she's got the kids, she's got her day-to-day responsibilities as far as, you know, the cooking, the cleaning, you know, running after the kids, you know. So that eats up all of her time. So she's really, you know, she's really disinterested in politics. But the thing is, like, I pay attention to some of the things that she says every once in a while, like on the surface, because occasionally she might say something with regards to politics, because that tells me what somebody that is, and same thing with my kids, people that are disinterested in politics, what are they being exposed to? What are they hearing? How are their opinions being formed? Okay, so that's a really good way. Now, I do this with other people as well, but with my wife and kids, it's kind of like an isolated situation where I can like really study it because I know exactly where they stand. I know, you know, what their biases or lack of biases are, because a lot of people will tell you that they're independent, but they're really not independent. With my wife and kids, they really are independent, right? So one of the things that I was hearing from my wife and kids, there was, you know, I mean, they were pretty much in favor of Kamala, okay? And the reason is, right, I mean, why is this? The reason is because of all the things that they were hearing on television, because Kamala was running like 24/7 ads nonstop with the $2 billion that she had, just bombarding the airways. And I was actually thinking, because I was seeing this stuff too in the evening. I'm like, why aren't Republicans running any ads? I mean, the reason was obvious, because they didn't have $2 billion to just, you know, to throw at the into the media. So again, what I'm getting at here is that Democrats, like Kamala, her campaign strategy was probably not bad, because people that really don't know anything about politics, you know, they can buy into that. They can look at these ads and they're like, oh, well, she's saying all these bad things about Trump. He must be bad, okay? They're not hearing anything to counter that. You know, it must be true, okay? So the point here is that the strategy, the Kamala strategy of these ads was not entirely ineffective, okay? Now, the interesting thing here is, like, okay, so particularly with, like, because basically I'm the breadwinner in my family, right? I'm the guy that makes the money. So the part of the reason why they could buy into it, why they could believe it, is because they're not paying the bills, okay? So the perspective of somebody that's paying the bills, that's seeing the inflation, is going to be different, right, than somebody that's not necessarily paying the bills. So that's part of the reason why it's like my kids, right? You know, they're completely isolated from money, right? They don't, you know, they don't have to buy their food. So they could believe a lot of those ads, and they didn't have to face reality, right? They didn't have to go to the grocery store and actually buy things with money that they earned themselves. So again, a reason why, you know, like those type of people, right? Somebody like small children could be persuaded by these ads. Okay, so I'm now kind of scaling this up and thinking about, you know, like people that are like dependent on government, right? Who are being like 100% paid, you know, supported by government. Why they would also believe these ads and want to vote for Democrats. Okay, so the point is, I just wanted to throw this information out there that like when you look, like when I look at Kamala's campaign, I don't think it was a terrible campaign. I think it is the only campaign that she could have run and had a chance to win, okay? There's nothing else that she could have done, because number one, her party is just like so vastly different that she really can't take a position on one thing or the other without pissing off, like a third of her party. Okay, and she ran like these negative ads against Trump because, again, that's not something that's dividing her party up. But what I think was working, let's say, for Republicans, and I don't even think that they did such a great job of exploiting it, but where we could get the left and right to fight each other, like especially over the border crisis and inflation, right? That's the place where I saw the moderates like really like peeling themselves off, right? Because they are paying the bills, right? Because especially in a lot of these cities, they were dealing with these migrants that were flooding the cities and basically eating up resources. I don't know how well necessarily the Republicans coordinated this and planned this, but it was just a natural outcome that having the inflation and the migration crisis, was pissing off the moderates and just peeling them away from the Democrat Party, and the Democrats had nothing to replace those votes with. Okay, so there's my afterthoughts on this election. I know there's a lot of people out there talking about it, but one of the things, the part of the reason why I'm doing this video is because everybody's saying, "Oh, she ran a terrible campaign," and my thought is that she ran Kamala ran the only campaign that she could have run. Okay, I think that any other strategy would have been a lot worse for her. Like, for example, a lot of people say, "Hey, she should have gone on Rogan's show." Right? If she had gone on Rogan's show and started talking for 3 hours, there's no way that she could have been talking for 3 hours and not said things that would have pissed off one of the three components of her party that she was trying to, keep in. She would have either pissed off the far left, pissed off the corporate government Democrats, or pissed off the moderates that were in her party. If I was being paid as a consultant to advise Kamala, I would have told her the same thing. Don't take a chance. Take your chances without going there. I think that the best chance that she had was the strategy that she had to basically just keep, just take, be as vague as possible on policies, so she doesn't piss anybody off, and just keep flooding the airways with billions of dollars. That, because here's the thing: if you're able to raise billions of dollars, use it. If that was her asset, that was the thing that she was able to do. That was her strength. She's able to raise billions of dollars and piss it away. So if that's your strength, if that's what you're capable of doing, then it makes sense. Yeah, do it. I mean, especially if you're wasting other people's money. I mean, it doesn't hurt you, right? So no skin off. She went to Hawaii afterwards for a vacation. So anyway, let me know what you guys think. Drop some comments below. I'll talk to y'all soon.